Hi, my name is Toluwani Obayan. Welcome to my channel. I always love it when I get to do that. So today, I'll be telling you my career story. Basically how I got into doing what I do today. I'll start from the very beginning, or as far as I can count it as being the beginning. The first thing I know I wanted to become when I was much younger, like when I was 9, I wanted to become a doctor. The reason I wanted to be a doctor was because that time, I don't really think there's a cure now, but there are ways to live through it. But that time, HIV/AIDS was without a cure and everybody was scared of getting it. I was like, I'll be the person to find a cure. So I guess if I was 9 years old now, the cure I'll be looking for I would want to be a doctor because I need to find the vaccine for the coronavirus or something like that. But that was my reason. It was ambitious, it was cause driven, and I wanted to be a doctor. And my uncle, who was studying to be a doctor at the time, my mom's youngest brother, who was almost done with uni, so at that time in med school, he encouraged me. I would come up with all sorts of formulas of what we need to do to create the drug that would fix AIDS, and I'm sure the formulas were rubbish, but he was very encouraging, and I'll ask him a lot of questions, and he always said, "Actually, you're very inquisitive." I was like, "What does inquisitive mean?" He said, "Oh, you ask a lot of questions, you want to know a lot." And I was like, "Okay." He said, "It's a good thing." I said, "Okay." But then after a while, I realized I really don't like blood. I like blood because blood is in my body, but I mean, I really don't like I don't like the idea of having to do operations or touch blood, or I don't like the smell of drugs either. I don't like things around the hospital generally. So I said, this can't really be my calling in life. So then I got into secondary school, and I was really good at technical drawing. And when you're really good at technical drawing, people say, "Oh, that means you're supposed to be an engineer, you're supposed to be an architect." I knew I didn't want to be an engineer because it wasn't like I loved mathematics that much. I was okay at it, but I didn't love it. So I was like, engineering, no. But architecture, I love the idea of designing spaces and how it was artistic, but then it was also technical at the same time. So I was like, architecture sounds like a good thing, because I really had, like that time in GS2, GS3, I had some of the best drawings in class. Mine was always very neat and things like that. And so when it was time for our GSSCE, that's junior class exams before you go into senior class, because in Nigeria, that's how the school system works. And when it was time for that, I did my courses thinking I would go into technical class by the time I got to SS1. That's when you get to do more of specializations and major in more subjects that would help you when you need to get into university. So I did okay in my junior WAEC, and so my result was good enough for me to go to any class. Usually what would happen is that if you didn't have your result wasn't so strong in some courses, you would go to arts class. I guess that kind of made arts class look like a place that was not for the brightest of people, even though that was a huge misconception. And anyway, even in that GS3, I remember going to the TD class for my seniors, and I went there when nobody was there. I just went and I prayed over the drawing boards in the TD lab, the big boards there in the TD lab. I said, I'm coming here in Jesus' name. I didn't ask God what was his will. I just wanted what I wanted, and I prayed over it, and I got there. After a bit in science class, or should I say technical class, I think we're only 3 girls with the whole set that went that way, so it also felt like a big deal. You're an iron lady. That's what they used to call us, iron ladies, the ones who are doing TD. In the class of boys, it had reps, it had a love, it helped my reputation, you know. But after a while I realized I don't really like this the only thing that seems to be keeping me going in the whole science technical class was the TD itself. I didn't really like further maths, I didn't really like biology, I didn't like, sorry if you're hearing some noise, there's construction going on next door. There's always something making noise in my videos. Sorry about that. It's so annoying. The courses I really loved were things like maybe CRK, English. I always had really good scores in English. When it came to phonetics, I would have the highest essays. I was doing really good. And many times I would go and hang out with my friends in arts class, and they'll be reading literature books, and I'll be like, you get to do this and you're studying, right? This is stuff I would do for free without anything. I had read so many books. from how young? From when I was like 6, 7, 7. I had already been reading big books, and I was like, new people get to do this and analyze these books. This is something I could be doing, really. I remember talking to one of my friends in arts class, and I was asking her, I think this was in SS1, like my mind started going in the direction of arts by that SS1, when one of my friends in arts class was saying that, I said, what are you thinking of studying in university? She said she wants to do mass communication. I was like, what's mass communication about? What's that? I've never heard of it. She was like, it's like studying to be a journalist or broadcast, mass communication, basically, mass media and everything. I was like, wow, that's a course. People get to do that. I was wowed, because even when I was much younger, I would be the type of person to write interviews for myself. So I would be the questioner, and I would be the one who would, like, I would be the interviewer and the interviewee. I was like, so how did you start in this line of something, and that made you become who you are today? I'll now be the one to answer myself in my magazine that I would create. Now, oh, I had dreams of doing this when I was a child and stuff. So I was already doing things like that when I was even much younger. And so when she said that this was what she was going to study, I was like, how come I didn't get to know about this? But it's too late anyway. There's nothing I can do about it. By the time I was in SS2, I was very miserable about it, but I was stuck. And I think then I was also struggling in mathematics and further maths, and I got a lesson teacher and stuff at home, but I just did not enjoy much in class. I did enjoy it, but I was doing it because I was already there. And what are you going to do in SS2? You can't. If it was in SS1, I could have said, okay, I want to quickly change to arts. But in SS2, SS3 is the next class, and you're supposed to be getting ready for university. It's not a time to make a change. By the end of SS2, I failed maths. And even before that time, I remember how many of us who were having issues with courses, all of us got together, and I really prayed for my friends, Bible says that, and God turned the captivity of Job when he prayed for his friends. So I was like, the way to make sure I don't fail this maths is to pray for my friends, right? So I really prayed for them, and then by the time I got results, I failed maths. And in my secondary school, I think in many Nigerian secondary schools, if you fail mathematics or English, you're going to be asked to repeat. You can't go to the next class. So failing maths meant I had to repeat, and I felt so terrible. I felt like, God, but I prayed for my friends, and I still repeated. And I remember getting home, and by the time the results were really out and everything, my parents sat me down. Thank God for my parents. God bless their memory. Both of them are late, but I remember how they sat me down and they just told me about what it would mean. They were very understanding. They didn't say, oh, you failed us. They didn't beat me. It wasn't anything like that. And my mom made me sit on her lap, and she just said, so this is the situation you're going to have to take. You're going to have do SS2 again. And it was just remembering that it was, you're going to have to do SS2 again. And I could just imagine it, because especially when you're in boarding school where there's the hierarchy per class, so JS1s don't call JS2s by name. Once you're a year ahead, you call the person who is ahead of you senior, so and so. So I was like, people that are calling me senior Toluwani will now be calling me Toluwani. It felt like a demotion. And usually there was shame. There was some shame attached to repeating. It meant you weren't bright, you weren't intelligent. People that usually repeated always had this stigma around them. So I just felt, God, I can never go back. Like the ground should just swallow me now. I thought, at that point in time, I thought there can't be anything worse than this right now. But my parents really did, they prayed with me. My brother was very supportive, they prayed with me. And when it was time to resume in school, I remember just feeling very excited, as if I was going to a new school. And I know it's only God that could have done that. I remember feeling extremely excited, as if it was a new experience. The shame that I was supposed to be feeling, it wasn't there. I was just excited, like, because I could see it differently. And by the time, so I resumed, the juniors that were calling my name, it wasn't so bad to be called by name. What is it, my name after all? And some of my closest friends till today are people that I had to go back a step to become friends with, and I'll never replace that for anything. I'm so grateful to God for that. So it was in now going into, and there are many other things that happened, but that's not today's story. But it was in going into arts class that I was able to now continue and study mass communication. And an interesting thing, after I went into arts class, the maths that was supposed to be so difficult, because I had to do SS2 twice, and because of that I could change to arts class. That's basically what happened. So the maths, that was now an issue, because I was like, there's no way I'm going back to TD class. Now that I have the chance to start, at least they told me that if I start SS2 from scratch, I can quickly catch up on everything that they did in SS1 and make sure I'm ready to do work for arts class with arts class subjects in SS3. So I was very happy about that. So the math that was the issue, that was the mountain, now became something I was teaching people. So I don't know, sometimes I wonder if God allowed me to go through that so that he would course correct. So if there's anyone watching who is feeling stuck and feeling as if something has happened that makes you a failure, sometimes there's a gift of starting from the beginning. And you can start from the beginning and course correct. It's such a gift before you even go too far. You might have gone far, but you have another chance to get it right. So if you're watching and that's you. I had a high enough score. My work I didn't want, NECO once, cleared all the courses I needed to clear. I think I cleared all courses. I don't think I failed anything. I don't remember failing anything. I didn't do courses like Yoruba, because if I did Yoruba, I would have failed something. I got into university, mass communication. Mass communication, I loved the course. Everything about it was exciting. We had some of the best lecturers like Professor Keon. I'm still very much in touch with him today. He has impacted my life greatly. He didn't allow me slack. And I remember by the time I was getting to final year in mass communication, I started feeling as if I wasn't really as interested in the other bits of mass communication. I'll backtrack a bit. When I started mass comm initially, I was thinking I would be a newscaster, because I think that's what most people wanted to be. You're going into mass communication. The most respected part of being in mass communication is being a newscaster, someone who gets to tell the news. And I was not bad at it. I could face the camera, I could look down, read, keep eye contact, all those things. But then I told my grandma, my late grandma, my dad's mom, I was mentioning it to her when she was asking what I wanted to do in mass comm. I said, be the newscaster. She said, Toluwani, I know you. You will not enjoy being a newscaster. That your mind is too busy? I'm a bit restless in that sense. Like, so for you to just be the conventional, because the newscaster is actually very much part of the editorial process of creating news pieces and everything. But I think at that point in time, she was referring to newscasters that they just get the script and they read it. And she said, you're not meant for, there are people that are gifted with that and are content with doing that, and they'll do it better than many other people. But that's not you, because you need to be more hands-on and you need to be part of the process that creates things. And I thought about it, I was like, okay, maybe she's really right. I might get tired eventually of just reading a script. Say by 300 level, I was very interested in film. And also, interestingly, that's why I love mass communication. It's a broad course. Film is one of the mediums of mass communication, because it reaches a mass audience and you're communicating in a mass way. But it's one of the more artistic mediums of mass communication. And so by the time I was doing my final year project, I knew that I wanted to do something that had to do with film. And I spoke with my supervisor, who happened to be Professor Keon. My dissertation or my project ended up being published as a paper in an international journal. The title was Audience Perception of Nollywood's Recurrent Movie Themes as Agents of Sociocultural Development. Audience Perception of Nollywood's Recurrent Movie Themes as Agents of Sociocultural Development. It was published, what was the name of the journal again? I'm trying to confirm. Mass Media Review, an International Journal of Mass Communication. In case you want to check it out, ISSN 1597 4200. So from there, immediately after I finished my first degree, I got admitted to do a master's in film and television studies at the University of Portsmouth. And because I could have done usually we have something that we do in Nigeria called the National Youth Service Course. That's like, I don't know what people call it in other countries, but it's almost like Peace Corps. I think I've heard Americans refer to something similar as going to the Peace Corps. So you spend a year somewhere, just almost like a gap year too, but then you serve your nation. So we have khaki uniforms, we do some camp time, and we're trained a little bit. So I just postponed on my NYSC and I went straight to do my master since I got admitted. And so I graduated in maybe, was it August? No, it was June. I graduated in June. September, masters had started, but I resumed a little bit late. I think I resumed in October or so. I resumed in October, and so I did my master's in film and television studies at the University of Portsmouth, and that was a wonderful experience. It felt like I was thrown into the deep end because the people I was doing my masters with were people that had a background. All of them, I think, had a background in film. Many of them had even studied at the University of Portsmouth. So there were a lot of things about film theory and things that I didn't know, even though I had always loved film. Like from when I was a child, I had watched films. My dad loved film, and we had watched and crammed, and we could recite so many films. Like I told you about Mulan. But so this was a very new experience, but I loved it. I remember having to do a presentation, and I used Osofia in London as my subject matter, and it was on a course on otherness. It was on a course of otherness, so you have to like Osofia's situation, othering those that were othering him too. By the second semester, there was a course I did on screenwriting. That's how I fell in love with screenwriting. Because before in my mind I was like, it's just going to be directing. The directors I was interested in, I was in awe of them, or I was very wowed by them. But then I did this course on screenwriting, and I was like, wow, I never gave the screenwriters the respect I should have given them all along, because without them, these amazing scripts, these lines of dialogue that I'm always reciting, these details that I'm fascinated about in film would not even exist. And I remember writing in my critical reflective essay after I wrote that screenplay, because that screenwriting course we were required to write critical reflective essays at the end of it as part of what would be used to grade, because I wrote my first screenplay, a 30-minute 30-page screenplay on that course, and it was called An African Queen, about a young lady that falls in love with the Crown Prince of England. And it was just a fantasy thing, because I was like, whoosh, then she's going to be queen, or she's going to be a princess, all those type of things, fairy tale Toluwani. So I wrote it, and I got a B, and my lecturer said I did really well, because writing a screenplay for the first time and having a high enough B is a good thing. And she said I should just keep on, that I had a lot of potential, I should keep at it and stuff. Even though at that time I was thinking I had learned all there was to learn, like what more do I need to learn? I can't finish. I'm still learning today, let me tell you that. So I was just young enthusiasm, but it's all right. So I remember that my critical reflective essay, I remember writing, it's so cute now when I think about it. I remember writing that I'm no longer waddling in the depths of filmic ignorance. I came back and I started my NYSC, but during my NYSC I got employed to work at a company called Wale Adenuga Productions. If you know Wale Adenuga Productions, you would know that they're the ones who are behind things like Papa Ajasco, This Life, Super Story. It's a super story. I got employed as an editor, so they wrote in a way that NYSC allowed me to serve with them. And the reason NYSC allowed me to serve with them, even though at that time NYSC was insisting that people had to serve in educational capacities, they've stopped that now, was because they have a film school. So because there was a film school attached to the company, they said, okay, so you still be serving in an educational capacity. So I was permitted to still work there. Then I had some editing experience, because in mass communication, anytime we would do projects in school, anytime it was my group, like for my group, I would always be the one to edit. And I learned how to edit. I think it was in course by Dr. Adasonya. And I learned how to edit stuff, and I liked it enough to keep on doing it even after. Forgive me, I missed out on a part of my career journey. While I was in mass communication, by 200 level, we did an internship. At the end of 200 level, we did an internship that's like about to enter 300 level. And I did my internship. Usually people were required to go to broadcast houses, radio stations, TV stations, newspaper, were required to do anything that was mass comm related, basically. And I did mine at a company called Film House, was it? No, a news corporation or news network called NN24, Network News 24. And at that time, it was the predictions that was going to be the CNN of Africa. Sadly, the company is now defunct, but then I learned so much from it, because CNN even did the training for them, and they were required to do things on a first name basis. And many of the people that are making it in the industry, the communication, media, film and stuff, there are people that worked at NN24 that I got to meet there. We had this first name basis thing. So you're not allowed to call someone Mr. or Mrs. because they wanted the communication to flow. They didn't want there to be rigidity. They didn't want formalities to interrupt the flow of creative ideas. I remember the person I worked for then, his name is Tony. And then I remember I met people like Kunle Idowu. Many people know him today as Frank Donga. But Kunle Idowu was one of my dearest friends there. He showed me so much. He taught me so much. Obina Rokereke Ocha, he's now the creative director at Red TV. He's still a wonderful big brother, has always been supportive. People like Shenwo Kimbaloyi, you might know him on Channels TV. So based on the experience there, it feels as if I've had a much longer career than I have had. So it feels like my career time started counting from the time I did that internship, because many of those people I mentioned, these people I mentioned are older than me, considerably older. But I'm like a colleague to them, or someone that they had worked with, even though I was a young upcoming person then. Still, everybody's upcoming at different levels. But so yes, I forgot to mention the internship at NN24. So I had done in NN24. One of the things I also got to do more was I learned how to also edit with Final Cut, because the editing I had done in school was more of Adobe Premiere Pro. But by the time I went to NN24, they were using Final Cut, because Final Cut goes very well with Apple systems. And I did some editing there for the news packaging programs and things like that. They were supposed to. The idea was that once you graduate, come back. We have a job waiting for you. But then the company didn't last that long. Now back to Wale Adenuga, because of my editing experience and some editing I had also done